It's Pride Month. Get out your flag and wave it proudly. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Stephen. I would be Stephen if you're new here. And this is episode number 457 for June the 8th, 2026. And the weather's looking beautiful outside this morning here, although I think later this week we're supposed to get some rain. But in the meantime, it is a balmy 13 degrees C. 13 degrees C to a Canadian is balmy, okay? And that is in Fahrenheit. That's about, well, you double it and you add 30 and you'll get a rough estimate. So 13 times 2 is 26 plus 30, 56. 56 degrees Fahrenheit, which is okay. We are supposed to go up to a high of about 23 though today. So that would be 23 times 2 is 46, 76 degrees, which is very, very comfortable. And not sure if we're going to have any humidity with that, but so I hope the weather's really nice wherever you are and while you're sipping your coffee, which I'm going to do. Okay, let's get into it, shall we? How about a little sneaky peek at what I've been working on? These are things that are on my design wall right now, but I'll talk more about them in detail tomorrow on the Idiot Quilter. You can see there's Michael there on the side with his teddy. Had a little problem with the teddy, and we'll talk about that. This, of course, is from the Art East second star to the right. Always have to think about it because I want to call it the Peter Pan quilt because that's what it's based on, but it is called second star to the right. And this is month 3 because we're doing it as a block of the month. So we'll talk about Teddy tomorrow. The table runner that you see that has sort of that celestial look, I believe that's a tablecloth from, not tablecloth, table runner from Sweet Pea or OESD, one or the other. That one, you'll notice I have 2 matching placemats to go with it. That's really not true. Those were not intended, and I'll explain that tomorrow on Idiot Quilter. Also, you'll get to see them completely finished. When I took this picture, I had not yet got the binding on the placemats. Of course, the cute little guy in the middle I had to do. You know I love gnomes. And this one came out by Sweet Pea as well for Canada Day, which is in another few more weeks, July the 1st. So I had to make him more about him on Idiot Quilter as well. And then the lighthouse, kind of out there on the left wing. It's not completely done. It is done, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it next. So that we'll talk about tomorrow as well. Maybe you'll have some ideas as to what I could do with that. So those are the things that I have been working on lately. Today I've got to get my act together and start figuring out what my next major project's going to be. I should work on a couple of projects that I've started and haven't finished. We'll see. Part of today's plan for what I'm going to do is to sit down and get myself organized for at least this week. I have to have something to work on for Saturday because on Saturday I'm going off with Walter to his in-person sew group that happens usually once a month or so. They didn't have one in May because we were in Japan. That's not the reason why they didn't have it, although we'd like to think we're that important, but we're not. But everybody else in the group, too, had something going on. We're getting into the warmer weather, right? And we're making plans. And those plans usually involve getting out because at least here where I live, we don't get many months of nice weather where we can get out. We're going to blink and it's going to be the fall. That's just the way time flies when you're having fun. Okay, so those are the things I've been up to. So a couple of comments from last week's episode that I thought need a little bit more discussion. This one comes from Lucy. Lucy says, a friend of mine has restless leg syndrome. If you remember, I was talking about my legs. And for the last few years, I've been having, tingly feelings in them and not in a good way. Kind of like they want to go to sleep or whatever. And sometimes at night they really bother me and my leg just flies out. And that I think is called restless leg syndrome. I've been trying various things. I tried some CBD, which is a derivative of cannabis. Um, and by the way, cannabis in Canada, if you didn't know, I'm sure most people know this, is legal. But I tried that. I tried that more or less to help me sleep because they were really kind of keeping me up at night, my legs. Uh, After we got back from Japan, things seem to have settled down. I don't know if the CBD did anything for me at all. Might go and explore other possibilities in the weed family, like the edibles with a touch of THC. I don't want something that's going to get me high. No, I'm not that kind of boy. Sorry, I just want something that will relax me at night and help me to sleep. But anyways, many of you have mentioned different things about this problem I might be having with my legs, and thank you for your advice. I know eventually what I'll need to do is go to my doctor. My doctor's going to either prescribe a pill because she's a pill pusher, or she's going to send me to some specialist for a test or something. I don't like doctors. I suspect that what the problem is, I have probably a pinched nerve in my back. And if I sit too long in an uncomfortable position, it aggravates it. And it comes and it goes. I don't have this constantly. Well, I'm aware of it, put it that way. Like the very tips of my toes sometimes are a little numb. But anyways, Lucy said about this friend of hers had this restless leg syndrome, and she says she has it really bad. Homeopathy has been disproven, and she does take drugs for it. It helps. I did mention that I was trying to stay away from having to take drugs because, well, in our society, our whole society is, pill pushing all the time. There's a pill for everything, isn't there? And I already take what I consider too many pills. I have 2 pills for blood pressure. My blood pressure isn't that bad. I monitor it every day. I take my blood pressure and I keep a chart. My doctor recommended this about 5 years ago that I do this, so I do faithfully. And my blood pressure has been staying pretty much consistent. Except I have noticed in the last few weeks that some days it's a little higher than normal. And again, this may be something I need to contact my doctor about, and I know what she's going to do. She's just going to up my dosage on my blood pressure pills. So I take 2 blood pressure pills in the morning and a vitamin. I have always taken a vitamin. Okay, a multivitamin. I have done that since I was a kid. My mother gave it to us when we were children. It just carried on with me, so I've never ever let that lapse. So really, is a vitamin a drug? I suppose to a certain extent, a multivitamin, but I don't consider that really anything severe. So I take that, and at night I take my 2 little pills for my cholesterol, which actually is, last time I had it checked, last blood test, it was really good. Not quite where my doctor wants it. They keep changing the number, the magic number for cholesterol. Now they're saying if it's under 2 point something or other, and is really good. Well, I was under that. I think it was 2.1 on their scale, whatever that scale is. She'd like to see it below 2. She keeps changing her mind and keeps making the number smaller and smaller. But I don't want any more of the cholesterol medication because it's a statin. And there's all kinds of horror stories about statin. Now, I've been on a statin for 20 years, probably. Might even be longer. I'm not sure. And sometimes that's why I wonder if the statin is what's causing the problem in my legs, because I have read, Dr. Google says that can be a side effect, but I thought it was more joint pain, and this isn't really joint pain. So I don't know. I mentioned it to my doctor a year ago or so, and I said, can you put me on something that's not a statin to try? She didn't want to do that. She said, well, the one you're on is the best one. Nothing else is as good. I beg to differ. Maybe I should talk to my pharmacologist. They're right now in Canada, the pharmacists have been given you know, many more tools legally for diagnosing problems people are having. They're supposed to know about drugs, so I don't know, maybe I should. We'll see. I just, any form of medical or dental, I have a phobia, I guess. I don't know. I shy away from it. I know what you're going to say before you say it. We shouldn't fool around with your health, and you are absolutely right. Leave it to the professionals. I just question, are our professionals, you know, how modern medicine, I always say to Walter, modern medicine, not that long out of the Middle Ages, you know? Bloodletting, it's a thing. But anyways, thank you, Lucy, for sharing that information with me. And Rachel wrote, a guy at work told me that an AI rang another AI. Then when they realized they were both AI, they started talking in a tech language. Very scary. Last week I read you that email from one of my subscribers who had this experience with AI. Basically, it was wrong, the information it had given him, and he had a little argument with it, and it had a bit of an attitude, which was kind of scary. This is interesting. One AI talking to another. I can't get Siri and Alexa to talk to each other. They'll be polite, but they won't talk at all. I try to get them to fight, but they won't right now. But it is kind of scary, and all I can think about is the Terminator movies, where the AIs, the robots, and that take over, and there's a big war between mankind or humankind and the computers. Maybe that's not so much science fiction. It's kind of scary when you really think about it. But this is Monday morning. We're having coffee. We're not going to think about it. So thank you, Rachel, for that food for thought. So let's move on and see what's been happening at home and elsewhere. Well, on the political scene, here are some headlines from last week that I found interesting for Canadians. I focus mostly on Canada, not the US, because we have too much of information about what's going on in the US. And what's happening in the US does affect us as Canadians as well. So we can't keep our heads in the sand about these things. But anyways, here at home, jobs and the economy, because the economy is a biggie, isn't it? It always is. The headlines say Canada experienced a surprise employment surge in May, adding 88,000 jobs and dropping the national unemployment rate to 6.6%. Well, this sounds good. This provided significant relief amid ongoing debates over whether the country was entering a technical recession. These economists and politicians and everybody else, depending on how they want the wind to blow, make up terms. Technical recession. Okay, so I've looked that up, and I don't know. It's a whole lot of data and stats. But really, a technical recession, even the word recession, you hear the word recession, we all panic. It means, oh my God, a green pepper is going to be $20 now. Well, it's damn near close. That's why we grow our own. But I don't know what a technical recession is. I would like to think that 88,000 new jobs and the national unemployment rate dropped to 6.6%, I would say that's pretty good. But it depends on who you're talking to about that. Our prime minister says this is good. The official leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, who's an asshole, he says it's bad and it's all the Liberals' fault. Of course he's going to say that. He wants to be in power. Oh, God help us if he should ever become prime minister, Poilievre. Oh, the man has no education, no brain, nothing. He is... Oh, his party needs to get rid of him because he's done a lot of damage to the Conservative Party. But anyways, I digress. So I choose to look at that as a positive thing. So the other headline, National Unity and Politics. An EPSO polls revealed a sharp drop in support for Alberta separatism from earlier in 2026, even as the independence movement continues to be heavily debated. Okay. Big story all the time about Alberta wanting to separate. They do not want to separate. The sane people, which is the majority of the Albertans, as much as I'd like to joke that they are Texas of the North, um, the majority of people, a large majority of the people in Alberta, do not want to leave Canada. This is a small little movement of idiots. Put them all in one room and there's probably only one tooth between them. They're all sitting out on their veranda with a banjo picking and a grinning with that one tooth. You get the point I'm making? They're just stupid. Okay? This is not the vast majority of Albertans. They do not want to leave. A sensible person knows there is nothing to be gained by trying to go out on your own. It's not like you're a teenager just graduating from high school and you're off to a new world of independence. Don't work that way. Okay? So get off the pot, you separatists. I suspect they're being stirred up by influencers from south of the border, because that has happened here before. There's some shit disturbers that come across. They would love to see our country fall apart, and then Trump could have us as his 51st state. Not gonna happen. We have been dealing with separatism for years. In fact, I read something that said the separatist movement out in Alberta, out west, has been around for not 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, for 90 years. There has been a form of it. And we have Quebec. In Quebec, every now and then rears its ugly little head up. The separatists do, that is. Not that the Quebecers have an ugly head. And, we want to leave this a country. You know how we think. We do not need you. Minority never works. No one wants them. I mean, Quebec's at least smart enough to know if they were to separate and join with the United States, let's say goodbye to your language, because the Americans are not going to put up with French. They barely put up with Spanish. So, yeah, not going to happen. But I think the underlining tone here is, amongst the agitators, is they want to make people think that Canada is broken. And for whatever reasons. And there's quite a number of them I think you could come up with. We're not broken at all. In fact, Canada right now, in my opinion, and from things I've been watching and reading and everything, with our prime minister making deals over in Europe, in Asia, and everything like that, we are probably on a better course than we've ever been before. I think, and I said this a long time ago, I think the 21st century is Canada's century. We have been spending 100 and some years of our existence, 150 some years, growing up. We've been in adolescence for a long time. We're finally putting on our big boy pants and we're coming out to the adult world. And boy, world, watch out for this. We're not just a whole bunch of really nice people who say sorry, eh? No. We are a sophisticated country, a diverse country, a powerful country, and we've got the resources to prove it. So, yeah, we are not broken. If anything, we are stronger, the true North, strong and free. Yeah. And then in that same headline, there's, meanwhile, the Bank of Canada and the Carney government announced new economic and national AI security strategies. Well, thank goodness that our government's getting on board with this. Other countries have already started this, and we're a little late to the game. Because, well, you just saw from that comment that Rachel sent in, AI is something to worry about. I mean, it's a great thing. I mean, AI it's kind of the as important of a revolution in technology as the internet was when it came out. We heard horror stories about how the World Wide Web was going to influence our children, going to corrupt things, all this kind of stuff. And that was over 30 years ago. We have survived it. Sure, yeah, there's been moments, but we have triumphed over it. We have put things in place to help us out. And it's constantly evolving, as anything to do with technology does. AI is just another one of those things. But of course, the doom and gloomers out there, oh, my AI is taking over. I mean, yes, they've given a personality to Alexa. And sometimes it's very amusing to bait her. But until she grows legs and arms and is moving around my house, I don't think I have much to worry about. But the doom gloomers out there, or gloom doomers, doomer gloom, I don't know. The negative people out there are saying, oh yeah, but it's in your systems. It's taking control of your house. It's spying on you. It's collecting information on you. I have news for you. That's been going on since the internet. Anything you put out on the internet, you hit a key, it's recorded somewhere, and if somebody wants your information about you or whatever your actions and things you're doing, they can get it. And they're not all getting it for, evil reasons, although that does happen. I mean, protect yourself. Keep things under passwords. Use two, what do they call it, two something authentication, that kind of stuff. Protect yourself. Don't open emails that you don't know who they're from. Don't click on links in emails and things that you don't know what they are. Do your own due diligence. Protect yourself. But we've had to do this throughout human history, right? I mean, used to defend herself with swords and knives. And then somebody got a gun. Went, uh-oh. Better make the walls higher. We find ways. So it's here. We need to cope with it. It's not going to go away. But thank goodness our Canadian government is getting on the bandwagon and will put some things in that will make the people who want to do us evil make it a little more difficult for them to do that. And the last headline, wave of anti-Semitic violence. Police and hate crime units are investigating after a Montreal synagogue and other Jewish community properties suffered damage, sparking widespread community concern. This bothers me more than anything else. This is my country. One of the things that we are characterized as having is our ability to be inclusive, to open up our arms to those around the world that need to have sanctuary, asylum, that we are a diverse society where we have many different religions, many different cultures, many different languages, and we all live together in harmony. Well, yes, that's what we tell the world, but apparently that's a bit of a myth, especially when you see things like this, anti-Semitic violence. Okay, it's a rough time over in the Middle East, isn't it, to say the least? And we've got the Palestinians, and that's who they're talking about, and the Jewish population, the Israelis. But that's over there. That isn't here. The Palestinians and the Jewish population that have come here from other places in the world are Canadian. They came here. Most of these ones that are getting into these phrases are Canadian citizens. So this hurts me as a Canadian to see this kind of thing happening. It's not going to change the situation in the Middle East by attacking one group in our country. It's just not. It's stupid. Of course, this is the media reporting this, so anything that the media reports becomes exaggerated. I'm not saying this didn't happen. It definitely did happen. But they called it a wave of anti-Semitic violence. A wave. That would suggest it's something that's just washing over the entire country from coast to coast to coast. No, not necessarily. In isolated pockets. But it's not a wave. It doesn't mean suddenly we have, everybody who supports the one side and everybody who doesn't. And this is happening and everything. But, there are those that would like to use this information and show that, once again, Canada is broken. We are not broken. We have laws to protect people from these kind of actions. And they're going at it. Our law enforcement agencies, our government in that, are doing something about it. I mean, depending on who you talk to, it's probably never as enough. But, they are doing something. So I'm not going to worry about it. But I just hate to see these kind of headlines because it's one of the things that makes most of us as Canadians proud that we are a tolerant society, that we are an inclusive society, that, and a diverse society that lives mostly in harmony. Okay, so what's been happening here at home? Well, I had a pop-up sew day on Saturday. Um, it wasn't a huge turnout, but I didn't expect it because, as I said earlier, weather's nice. People are, out and about. In fact, there was things going on on Saturday that we could have been at, and I didn't realize until too late because this is Pride Month, and more about that in a minute. But there was something we could have gone to, but I'd already planned the pop-up sew day. And I'm the kind of person that when I commit to something, I commit. So I wasn't going to suddenly just at last minute cancel it. So anyways, we had that. I think everybody had a good time that were at it. And I guess everybody got things done, which is a good thing. What else? Well, it is deck season. And what I mean by that, I mean Walter has been working his little hiney off, restaining the deck. He's got that all done. We've got the patio furniture all cleaned up and out. And Walter got our container garden all planted, and it looks really nice. And I want to show you what that is looking like. I took some pictures. See how nice and shiny the deck is right now? We didn't have the umbrella out when I first took this picture, but you can see all our little pots here. We've got some, these tomatoes were ones that we've been growing inside. Walter decided to take some of the crop and put them outside, and they have a little bit of a setback. There's some little brown leaves in here, but I think they're perking up, and actually this morning they look better than when I took this picture. I'm not sure what these two little green plants are, probably peppers that he started. These are strawberries. This is a new crop for us this year, experimental. These are everberry or whatever. I mean, they're supposed to have fruit all summer long. We will see. There are flowers on it, so we may get some berries. I don't think we're going to get a lot, but it's an experiment. And he said he decided we don't usually, well, we do put flowers out on the deck too, but this is our garden. But Walter decided that it needed a little bit of color. So he went out and got this, and this has a funny name, and I don't remember what it is. I am not a gardener. Walter is. And you see it doesn't stop, row after row. So there are, this is a pepper tree. It's a pepper plant, but we've had this pepper plant for quite a while. And so Walter's decided to let it experience outdoor life. And I think it'll come along. I think there's actually some little tiny peppers on it right now. It just flowered not too long ago. I'm not sure what all this stuff is. Probably more pepper plants. We have a variety of different peppers. We have hot peppers, chili peppers, jalapenos, that kind of thing. And when those all start coming on, and I'll pick them and I'll pickle them. And I still have a few jars of pickled ones from last year. And there's more tomatoes, another one of those plants. There's some basil out here. Cucumbers. These are cucumbers. And we let them climb up along this lattice piece. And they last year they did very well. Walter was debating whether we should put them out because we had so many last year. And I said, but I can pickle them. I'll just pickle everything. So yeah, we've got those. And of course we have our chives. These come up every year. We never buy them. We never replant them. They sit in this pot. They've just gone to flower right now. And somebody told me the other day you can actually eat the flowers on them. Haven't tried that yet. We don't use a lot of chives, but when I make a salad, I like to throw them in there. You can use them in place of green onions, and stuff. So we need to use more of them because you can see we have lots of them. And they just come up every year, as I said. And this pot sits out in this deck throughout the winter. It isn't protected. It isn't covered up. There's snow. There's ice on it the whole bit. And come the spring, up come the chives again. This happens to be for umbrella. I don't have a picture. Um, I should have taken one. I don't think I have one. Just let me check on my phone if I took one or not. Yesterday, I don't think I did. No, I had intended to. But anyways, I'll take one for next week, and so you can see what our whole setup is with the chairs and everything. Um, so that's what we've been busy at home, getting things like this all ready for the summer season. And as I mentioned before, it is Pride Month. And yeah, before I talk about Pride Month, I should show you what's going on inside. Okay, these are a little bit of a contrast, isn't it? This is grow light number one. This pot is about to be cleaned out. This lettuce has had it. That was here, what was left of it. So we'll start some new things in there. Walter's already started. You can just see them a little fuzzy in this picture. I'm not sure what he has started here, but he started something, probably more lettuce. We're not going to grow lettuce outside this year. The lettuce takes too long outside, and suddenly it all comes on and you have it coming out of your ears. It's better that we've got it down now that we can grow the lettuce under the lights all year round, so we'll just stick to that. And here's the jungle. Ooh, it's cleaned up, isn't it? If you remember last week when I showed this picture of the jungle, it was a jungle. Lots of tomato plants. Well, Walter's put a lot of those tomato plants outdoors, and now he has some pepper plants started here. These are these green things popping up. And he left in some of the tomatoes in here. They look a little worn, torn. I need to get rid of some of those brownish leaves on them, but tomatoes nevertheless. We got them indoors and we've got them outdoors. And yeah, that's not what I want to show there. So yeah, gardening's coming along. Okay, let's talk about June, because June is Pride Month here in Canada and actually basically across North America. Um, so I said that because I had the pop-up soda day, we didn't go to some events that we would have gone to. And one of those would have been our areas. I live in a region called Durham. It would be our Pride Day celebrations, but usually they have the Pride Parade and everything for that on the Sunday, the first Sunday of June. Well, they changed the date this year to Saturday, and we didn't know until it was really too late. Already had the pop-up soda day planned. Not that we missed a great deal of anything. We talked about this a little bit on Stephen and Walter Live yesterday, so I'm not going to go into it any further. But yes, it is Pride Month, so find a gay person in your neighborhood and give them a hug. Say you're thinking about them. And you know, in some ways I'm being funny. In other ways, though, seriously, in the States, the LGBT community and the transgender community, and I shouldn't separate the two out because transgender community is part of the LGBTQ community, they're under attack by the Trump administration. And the Trump administration, how is a transgendered person a threat to American society? They're not. They're human beings. I mean, you got to think about what the American Constitution that most Americans are so proud of. And one of the lines is there, you know, freedom, something, and the pursuit of happiness. That's all transgendered people want to be. They want to be happy in their own skin. So, what's this? It's just stupid. But then it's Trump. You know, really. But anyways, this is the month, and here in Ontario, it'll culminate in with the Pride Parade, the big huge Pride Parade in Toronto on the last Sunday of June. Are we going to it? No. We used to go to it when we were younger, but last year alone they had over 2 million people. 2 million people showed up to watch the parade. It is a zoo. Although it's a happy zoo, because to date there has never been violence, like severe violence of any sort, during Pride festivities, which is saying a lot, because there's some other festivals in Toronto where that's not the case. One I'm not going to mention because in detail because it would sound like I'm being racist, but they have always had a problem. And in fact, I don't even know if they're running it anymore. It kind of collapsed in terms of getting funding and things like that for it. But the Pride, never really a problem. But there's so many people you can't move, and after in Japan, with the number of people on the subways there and stuff like that, how I do not like crowds. Well, we stay away from it. Although we think we'll go in the day before into Toronto, and because they usually have the whole of the gay area in Toronto is shut down. It's only pedestrian traffic, and they have all kinds of vendors and displays and things. So we may go down there for the day, walk amongst the displays, check that all out, feel the vibe with it of the Pride celebrations, and go out somewhere, probably away from the gay area for dinner because everything will be busy there, um, and just and then come home and not be there for the parade. That's our plan, anyways. Um, but back to the Durham Pride celebration that we missed. We didn't miss much. They have a parade. It's nowhere near like Toronto's parade, of course. Um, they have vendors in a park. Usually it's people with leaflets about various social services and things like that, and a bunch of people who make jewelry. I don't like jewelry. I don't buy jewelry, so not that appealing to me. And then there's a drag show, and I can take or leave a drag show. I mean, it's just a cock in a frock, so to speak. Um, it doesn't impress me much, not the least the ones around here. We have seen some impressive drag shows, but they were in London, England. Um, and those people were really good because they used their own voices when they sang, and they were entertaining. It was more of a theatrical production. The ones out here are, well, bless their little souls. They try. They try. Yeah. I'm not saying I would do a better job, but then again, I'm not going to do drag. So there we go. Okay, let's turn our attention then to more coffee. I hope you've got this is still my first cup. So let's go to new product review. Have I bought anything? Yes, I have. I just have to find my picture of it. Oh, I thought I had a picture. I'm sure I have a picture. I'm just leafing through here. Bear with me, please. Okay, that dropped out. That wasn't good. Okay, talk amongst yourselves. Where is my button? I do. Okay. I haven't completely lost it. Okay. What did I buy? I did some Temu shopping. And I bought a couple of things. I bought some cheap LED strip lights. Why, you may ask? Well, you know those things I make? The 3D printed elaborate buildings and things from Fluval. I'm still not sure how to say his name. Well, you have to light them up. Or you don't have to, but it's nicer if you do. So I buy these, and they usually work pretty well inside them to light them all up. And they're a lot cheaper than buying them on Amazon. And they work so far. I have not tried this brand before, but other ones that I bought work perfectly okay. So, if you save a few bucks. And the little thing beside was an impulse buy. I think it cost me $6, but it is a hub, and it's for USB A's and USB C's. And supposedly it will charge faster your device. I have my doubts about that. I'm keeping a close eye. I have it plugged in right now. I'm keeping a close eye on it to make sure it doesn't blow up. And I'll experiment a little bit more with it later on. But it was like $6 or something like that. So I picked that up. And so those are my Temu purchases. So I picked up a couple of pads of lined paper, like these kind of things that I use. because they're reasonably cheap. But the reason they're so cheap is because there's not many in them in the package. Not like if you bought them at a place like Staples. But then again, they also didn't cost like about 15 bucks for a package, as they do at Staples. So yeah, those were my Temu purchases. I haven't bought anything from Temu in quite some time. And you know, once you get on Temu and you start looking around, you start filling up your basket really quick with stuff. I've never had a bad experience with Temu with anything that I have bought, but I know some people have. At least they put it up on YouTube and say they have. So yeah, but I am cautious about what I buy. I don't buy big ticket items from Temu. Um, but these little things like I'm showing you now usually work out okay. Another thing I bought, but I'm not going to show it today, but I will show it tomorrow on the Idiot Quilter. I bought some more Japanese fabric. Now, you know, I came home with Japanese fabric from Japan, but I have a project in mind and I wanted more fabric, so I ordered it. Had a slight little problem, and the problem was really my fault. Talk all about that on Idiot Quilter tomorrow. And so, speaking of highlights of things from videos, last week, Monday Morning Coffee with me was alive, and we talked about all kinds of things. Some follow up from when we came back from Japan. Normally, I do this coffee, Monday Morning Coffee with Stephen, is live the last Monday of every month. Last week was the first Monday of the month. But the reason was I was still in Japan when the first or the last Monday of May happened. So didn't do it then. I will do another live though this month on the last Monday of June, whatever date that is. So stay tuned for that, and I'll talk more about that as we get closer to it. I enjoy doing this live, because right now while I'm doing it, I'm not really talking to you, I'm talking to myself. Yeah. And if you, just as an aside, if you're a content creator, you know what I'm talking about. You know, you're looking at yourself as you talk. And when you first start making content, you're looking anywhere but at yourself because you don't want to see yourself. Now, I look at myself and in my mind, I am talking to somebody else. Ooh, maybe that's a sign of senility. I'm old. Okay, the Idiot Quilter talked about projects I had planned that I was working on. That's all changed. We'll talk more tomorrow. And on So Chatty this week, I did another part of our series on using the Accuquilt, and that was using the double wedding ring block. If you haven't seen that yet, you should, because I ran into some problems. And yeah, I thought about editing those problems out, but that wouldn't have been fair because the problems were not my problems. It was the problems created by Accuquilt with that die, which they have discontinued. I've been sitting on that die for about 3 years before I ever opened it up. Lesson learned. When you buy something new, get it out of the box and use it then and there, because 3 years later when you find there's a problem, if there's going to be a problem, it may be too late. So if you haven't seen that, you might want to check it out. This week coming up with So Chatty, I haven't decided yet. I asked people whether or not they want me to continue the Accuquilt series, and it's kind of 50-50. Most people said yes, they would like to, but others said, well, maybe do it, maybe not as frequently, maybe do it, once a month or every other week or something like that. And I'll be honest, I am getting tired of doing it myself too, because it's a fair amount of prep to make those little video segments. Now, somebody wanted me to do, though, suggested that I do a video about using the stripology rulers. And I thought, hey, that's not a bad idea, because I love the stripology rulers. I have 3 of them in various sizes, and I use them all the time. And in fact, recently I found out that I could do more with it than I realized too. So maybe other people are in the same boat about them. So I'm planning maybe this week, that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to do a segment on using stripology rulers effectively. So we'll see how that goes. And on Stephen and Walter Live, we had two topics this week. We talked about Pride Month, of course, and we also talked about FIFA and how it just sucks. Sorry if you're a FIFA fan, if you're a fan of football, as they call it in Europe, soccer as we call it here in North America. I'm sorry, I probably rained on your parade, and if you watched me and you were that way, you probably turned me off or started cursing me. Sorry, but I don't have a lot of respect for that organization, for FIFA, especially when it costs so much money, and that is money that I really feel could be used for other things that are much more worthwhile, like working with our homeless, our healthcare system, education system, all kinds of other things. There you go. So anyways, if you didn't catch that, it's on the replay. You might want to watch it. Okay, coming events. What's coming up? Well, Wednesdays, Sewing with Me. Links in the show notes. You know the drill. And the weather. We talked about this back. I'm just going to try and find my Ring camera here. Already mentioned what the weather has been like here. Let's take a look, a live view from the webcam. You know, used to do this, used to take a picture from the webcam, then put it up. But now I've decided, why? I have the technology. We can see what life is like out on my front step live. And here it is. And there's what we're seeing right now from my front door cam. And it looks gorgeous. Oh, there goes a truck by. Someone's going to work, maybe. Walter's flowers are looking really nice on the front step. And the lawn is green and the trees are lovely. I love this time of the year. Everything's so fresh looking. Looks like there's a slight breeze out there. I'm going out for my walk after I'm finished this. Yeah, it looks gorgeous. Now, we can look at other cameras here. You might want to see the backyard. And that's the back door. How come I can't get this to pop up? Well, for some reason, it's not letting me blow it up, but there's my backyard. Not as impressive as the front. No flowers or anything like that. Now, Walter did buy a rhubarb plant, and he's going to plant it somewhere back in here. That's another experimental crop this year. But nevertheless, the lawn needs a little bit of work back here. But yeah, mostly, wouldn't it have been nice if a bunny came by right now? Because bunnies do go in our backyard. Other things as well, skunks, raccoon every once in a while, but usually they're at night because they're nocturnal. So anyways, that's how things are looking. I already told you what the temperature was and everything. Although the long distance forecast for this week in my area looks like, let me pull up the weather. Today is supposed to be really nice, sunny all day, high of 23. Tomorrow's supposed to be even warmer, high of 27 degrees C, but a 70% chance of rain and thunderstorms. I don't know if those will be isolated or what. Wednesday, 95% chance of rain, but 27. Thursday's going to 28, but 65% chance of rain. Friday, 26 degrees high, but 45% chance of rain. Well, rain on my parade, rain all week. But who knows? That can change. And they're not saying here whether this is a complete downpour or what. But, you know, we do need the rain. And I hope out in the western provinces they are getting rain, because it's forest fire season and it's devastating out there, the forest fires. So, you know, I'm hoping for them this year that they get a lot of rain that keeps things nice and wet. Excuse me, choking up there. Nice and wet, and, you know, so things don't burn. Yeah, let me have a little coffee. Okay, we'll live. So, I showed you the grow lights and everything, what's going on there. Let's talk about 3D printing, as I do. Okay, so our patio, just let me sorry, I've suddenly, you suck in air. I know we need it, but I have this tendency to suck in air and then choke. Um, just trying to find my pictures here of what things are looking like. There we go. Okay, so 3D printing is wonderful for home decor and it's great for patio decor. So as I said, we've got the deck upstairs all organized, but we have the patio underneath, and I showed you last week pictures of it. I cleaned everything up, but I wanted some new little flower arrangements. Now, nothing grows under the deck because it doesn't get sunlight for that. Okay. I might be able to handle a succulent under there, but what I can grow under there is artificial. And I need something to keep my artificial flowers in. So I made this little vase here. I really like the design of this so much that I blew it up to 3 times its size. And I got these sprigs of stuff from the dollar store. Yes, I know they're plastic flowers, but I think they're pretty. And they serve their purpose under the deck. And then my little candles around there, so it looks very nice. I did 3D print these little electric tea light candle holders, and they look really nice at night. Everything is run by remote controls out there, so I just click a button and everything lights up. And it's really nice on a nice, warm summer evening, sitting under there enjoying, a bottle of wine or 12. And yeah, and this, I needed something else on this glass table. So it does get moist under there. I mean, it's protected from the rain for the most part, but still, it's outside. So if you put something that's really made of fiber or something like that, it will absorb moisture and get a little icky. So I 3D printed a doily, and that's what's here. So, it's just wipe it off because it's plastic. So lots of uses for home decor when it comes to, what am I saying? Using your 3D printer. Other things, I've already mentioned that we're off next Saturday to a sew day with Walter's group. And I always like to take them a little something, a little gift that I've made. So this month, I've made them 2 things. And I'll show you the picture of that. Okay, this one holds bobbins, and this one holds needles. And inside, the one for the bobbins is this little stand, kind of cool. And this one holds, and you can see here I've put some in, the cases that your sewing machine needles come in. So, those lids lock down on top of them, and you can throw them in your travel bag, and it keeps everything nice and neat and secure. So that's this month's little gift. And then I created this. This is a practical print. This is a table sits here next to my sewing machine to my left-hand side, and I have this little iron, and this is where I'll do, when I need to press something, little pieces, that kind of thing. If I need to do a little bit of trimming, I have my little rotating cutting mat and rotary cutter here, some of my seam-aligned glue, and this mat is on a silicone tray. Now this comes from Gudrun of GE Designs. She's the inventor of the Stripology ruler and other things. I'm sure you're familiar with her. But I'm not talking about this mat that I bought. The thing was, it's a little bit longer than my table. You can see the table peeking out here on the edge. So I needed to give it a little bit of support. So I printed these little extension pieces that clamp to this table underneath. I didn't design them. They were already designed by somebody else, and they just hold my overhang of the mat. You can see here I've got about 6 inches of overhang. It keeps it nice and flat. So practical print. So it's not just all flower vases when it comes to 3D printing. Okay, so something I find interesting, it's popped up in my feed, and actually I'm getting a little sick of it now. But if you like some comedy, and because this is Pride Month, this is a gay comedian. His name is Joe Dombrowski, and he is hilarious. He talks about the gay community. He makes fun of us, the community. And you want to know something? Members of the LGBT community do have a sense of humor. We have to have a sense of humor if we want to survive in this world. And it's funny. But the other thing, too, is he appeals really to the straight population as well. And I think he gives them a bit of an education about what LGBTQ is all about. And he is a teacher, or was a teacher, and so he's got some hilarious stories about teaching kindergarten and the kids. And you don't need to be a teacher to relate to them, but if you have kids in your life or whatever, he's great. But anyways, here's my just a little quickie review of his YouTube channel. Just recently, I discovered this particular comedian on YouTube, and he is hilarious. However, if you are offended by off-color humor and a lot of references to the LGBTQ community, this may not be for you. Of course, I find it particularly funny, and it's very appropriate for this month because this is Pride Month, as you know, or may not know, and well, most of his stuff centers around two main topics: the pride or the LGBT community and education, because he used to be a teacher before he went into stand-up comedy. So if you want a real laugh that's definitely not something that is G-rated, then you want to check out Joe Dombrowski, his YouTube channel, and the link is in the show notes below. So check him out. He's got a lot of videos, and I find them really funny. They're not really G-rated, as I already said, though. So, make sure there are no little people in the room at the time when you're enjoying these. Okay, now, this weekend, Walter decided to make one of my favorite food groups. He made Dutch pancakes. And Dutch pancakes are different from regular pancakes. They're more like a cross between a pancake and a crepe. And when we were in Holland last year, in the Netherlands, we had them several times, and they're absolutely delicious. And they put all kinds of things on them and whatnot. So he decided to make them, and he makes really good ones. And so I made a little video about our Dutch pancakes that we had on Sunday morning. So Walter is making Dutch pancakes, and here's his batter, which has to sit for how long?
Half an hour.
For half an hour before you can put it in the pan. And what's in your batter, Walter?
Flour, milk, eggs, cinnamon. I can't remember what else.
Oh, is there yeast?
Nope.
Oh, baking powder? Did you say?
Nope.
Baking soda?
Nope.
How does it rise?
It doesn't.
Oh,
it's not right. It doesn't rise.
Oh,
they're flat.
Oh, like a crepe.
Yeah.
And then we put things in them, like whatever this is. Berry compote.
That's just stuff that we put on top. It's berry compote.
But don't you usually...
Berry
coulis. And do you not put a little butter and brown sugar?
Well, yeah, I can do that, but I'm not going to do that.
Okay, you're not going to do that.
We're going to do syrup.
Syrup. Okay, maple syrup, Canadian maple syrup. Yes, so this will be a yum. Show you the end result when we get to that. Okay, so Walter's now making his Dutch pancake. He's got the batter in the pan. And how do you know when to flip it?
It begins to get non-liquidy on the one side.
Well, when I make pancakes, my grandmother always said that it'll bubble up, and when the bubbles stop coming to the surface and the edges and everything look dull, when things go to dull, then you can flip it.
Yeah, well, these don't necessarily bubble because they don't have any baking powder in them.
Well, yum. So here's the end result. Walter says they didn't quite turn out, a couple of them, because he made them a little, did you say thicker or thinner?
Well, the batter was a little thick, but I was using whole milk, so that could have had something to do with it.
So then, what do you do?
Well, I put some brown sugar out for you if you want.
Well, I like the fruit too. So, but
you can put anything you want on it.
Put a little butter. butter your crepe, your pancake. And then one method is to use brown sugar and put a little bit of brown sugar.
Yeah, brown sugar is crystallizing.
We'll just put a little so you get the idea. And then Walter has some berry compote here. Put that on. Okay, and then we roll your crepe, or
yeah, you can roll it if you want. Yeah,
you can
eat it any way you want.
eat it any way you want. Okay, there I go. I just and then we're going to put a little Canadian maple syrup, because there is no other maple syrup in the world as good as Canadian maple syrup. And away you go. And they're delicious. And yes, putting a little maple or a little bit of brown sugar and the berries on might be a little overkill in sweetness, but I was just showing you that. But they do taste delightful. So these are Dutch pancakes. Okay, so I'm going to end today's video on a serious note. You've heard me mention throughout this video a little bit about this being Pride Month and the whole bit. But there are some issues out there, and it's the reason why we celebrate Pride Month. Because although it's a lot of fun, it's a lot of festivities and celebrations, that kind of thing, there is an underlining theme here. And I just felt that I needed to express my opinion about that. And I wanted to do it not while I'm recording this. I want to do a pre-recorded piece so I could keep my thoughts together. So I'm going to insert that little, if you'll bear with me, I'm going to insert that clip that I made right here now. As I've already mentioned, this is Pride Month. June is Pride Month, and there's celebrations for the LGBT community all around, well, North America pretty much, and possibly in other places of the world as well. But here in Ontario, where I live, just outside of Toronto, it's a big event every year. It pulls in a lot of people, and it pulls in a lot of money to the city. And of course, it culminates after all kinds of other activities on the last Sunday of June with the massive LGBTQ, or as it's called, Pride Parade, which has several million people attending it. It's a zoo downtown Toronto. We stay away from it now. But I would like to say that we don't need a Pride Parade anymore. And why did the Pride Parade start in the first place? Well, basically, it was a protest against a riot that happened at a bar in the late 60s in New York City, in Greenwich Village, called the Stonewall Bar. And everybody's heard that story, I'm sure. Here in Canada, it's more important that we have something, or we had something that contributes to why we celebrate Pride, again, out of a protest with the bathhouse raids in the late or early 80s. So every country has a reason for having the parade. Now, I would like to say we don't need a parade anymore. We don't need to protest. I mean, after all, here in Canada, anyways, and in the United States, we have legislation, laws that protect us at our jobs, in our community, against hate crimes. We have laws that allow us to get married, that kind of thing. So you'd think, well, why? What's the protest anymore? Well, we need it more than anything now, especially the United States, because they are passing laws that are discriminatory to the transgendered community, which is part of the LGBT community, and they are basically going backwards on same-sex marriage rights, on to love who you want to love, on all the issues that we fought for so many years for. So they're basically putting things backwards. Now, does this affect us in Canada? Not to the same degree, but it still affects us because whatever happens in the United States has an influence on Canada. And we have our severe right individuals who, for some reason, think we are an enemy, that we are a danger to their lifestyle. I have no idea how that would be. But they believe this in their mind, and they try every now and then to do whatever they can against the LGBT community and basically against our rights as human beings. So, yes, we need the pride celebrations and we need the parade. But if anybody says that the pride parades and celebrations are just a good time and they should not be politically focused, they are wrong, in my opinion. Very wrong. Because the pride parades and celebrations came out of protest. And it's too bad we have to continue protesting, but we need to protect our rights and not be treated as second-class citizens. In Canada, we are very, very lucky because we are protected. And for the most part, most Canadians are very supportive of the LGBT community. But in other places in the world, and not just third world countries, but our neighbor next door in the United States, they are stripping those rights away. So we need to stand together, both the LGBT community and the straight community, and fight against discrimination, against prejudice, against persecution. And this just doesn't go for really the LGBTQ community. This goes for all communities, all people. All people deserve to be protected. All people deserve to be seen and respected, no matter which cultural group they come from. And unfortunately, our world seems to be going backwards in time, and we're becoming more barbaric. So, yes, we need a pride parade. It is Pride Month. We need to celebrate diversity and equality. And I think we need to celebrate that on an even wider scale than just the gay world or lesbian world or transgendered world or bisexual world or the non-binary world, whatever, because this is something that has to do with human rights, and everybody is human. Okay, so I hope that didn't bring you down. Not my intent. But anyways, I hope you have a really great week. Tune in to the Idiot Quilter tomorrow, Tuesday, and I'll talk all about my projects that I'm working on and show you the Japanese fabric and my plans for that, and, well, everything else that I talk about on Idiot Quilter that is quilting related. And of course, at Friday, there'll be So Chatty. And as I said, I think I'll be looking at, amongst other things, the Stripology ruler. Walter and I will be together for that. And then, of course, Stephen and Walter live again next Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So I hope you have a great week. I hope the weather's really nice for you. I hope you're able to get out and enjoy it, because before we know it, snap our fingers, it'll be fall. Ick. Okay, and go grab yourself a second cup of coffee. We'll see you later. Bye for now. Hi. I'm just going to interrupt my program for just 1 second to remind you to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for future notifications. That's all I ask of you. Show me a little love. Thanks.